Welcome to another episode of Wotv tier lists. Uh, the thing with tier list videos, they get a lot of hate. So before I say anything, I'm going to throw out some ground rules here. This is purely PvP tier list. The rankings would be different in PvE. I've ranked them based on their type of damage, and they're ranked from left to right. So, for example, Slash, I would have ranked Zombie Ryu as first, and then Howlet as second. This is purely my opinion. We're not taking into account any kind of TMR but we are taking it or gear, but we are taking into account vision cards because there are specific unit vision cards. I will be moving some of the units around if they are effective in another attack type. Alright, without further ado, we are going to get into the list. Starting off, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I think Zombie Ryu is probably the best Slash unit and Howlet the second best. For two reasons. One, that Rune Knight ability, you get 50% of your magic, you get 50% of your AP to start off with. That's huge. Basically, what that means is first turn, I can Hazard Slash you if I wanted to, on top of having magic coverage. And the thing is, Hazard Slash is considered a slash move, but it's based off of magic, and it hits as magic, which means it bypasses defense. So that basically works for both Howlet and Zombie Ryu. However, I believe Zombie Ryu hits harder than Howlet. That's just from personal experience, but basically that's the reason they're first. It's because they hit you while you have to defend with your spirit because it's a magic type attack, but it's also a slash type attack. So it's hitting you for magic and slash resistance instead of the typical slash resistance and defense. And they can do it first turn. Dwayne technically can also do Darkness first turn, so that's why I have Dwayne as third. Also, Dwayne provides a whole bunch of crazy buffs for slash attacks. Magic Infusion removing re-res is also really good. The ability to make people in peril to dark is pretty good. And he has a dark buff. So Dwayne is freaking insane for a slash unit. Next is Agrius. Generally, I think realistically the people that are generally ranked top in slash is probably Dwayne, Agrius, and Superstern. Agrius is obviously ranked top for slash because of her status effects. Her damage is pretty high. It's not like bad, but mostly you're using Agrius for her status effects. So Stop, Silence, and Confuse, one of which still doesn't even have a resistance item for, whereas Dwayne's Darkness there's already a resist item for. Elven Cloak is coming, so we'll have some resist for Confuse, but it's close. I don't know if it's accessory or close. I think it's close. But anyways, if it's not accessory, then that's really awkward because generally the people that run forward are the ones that are tanking, so they're not really wearing cloth. Anyways, Gilgamesh, I would say, is next in terms of slash because of Kotetsu, but then Kotetsu isn't even a purely slash attack, but he does reduce slash resistance. So I would put Gilgamesh there. Here comes the people that kind of has some debuffs and still hit really, really hard. It is possible to one-shot people with Kotetsu. It's also possible to one-shot people with Hazard Break. That's why him and Superstern are there. Superstern has the ability to use Hazard is it Crasher or Crusher? I think it's Crusher. To effectively reduce people's defense. And obviously I'm putting him above Sid because that's the upgraded version of Sid's Armor Break. His Armor Crusher ability. So Superstern does a ton of damage, but the problem with him is he has two issues. One is he's purely slash damage between main job, samurai, and assassin. It's all slash damage. The second issue is So the first issue is the lack of weapon type. The second issue is all you're really bringing to the table is damage. You're not really bringing that much utility. You have an attack break, but generally people die after you hit them with mighty break. You also have the defense break, but people generally die from that too. So really, you're bringing damage, and that's it. Whereas Gilgamesh brings other utilities like haste, quicken, kotetsu. I think he has another one. Right, I don't remember what the other one is. But anyways, Gilgamesh just has some more utility. That's why I'm putting him higher than Super Stern. Orlando, he was the best unit for a long time. Technically, he kind of also has his own vision card in Agaion, because Agaion helps Thunder Sword. But realistically, what he brings to the table is his the armor break, the silence, and even now, not too many people even use Hollow Bolts on their Orlandos now. Mostly he's used for like some kind of an evade / type team. He still does good damage, but everybody does good damage. He just doesn't like bring that kind of utility. He has Thunder down, but a lot of them turn off Thunder God's swordplay as well. So realistically, he's running around hitting people with armor, the armor break ability, and that's really it. Delita hits pretty hard as well, but same thing. It's the same as Orlando. He's going around hitting people with that armor down ability. He has an AP reduction ability as well. Guts is pretty good, but realistically, his ultimate does silence as well, but not too many people run silence these days either. So that's why he's near Orlando. Laswell is there for his Laswell is here for his solo capabilities. He's actually really strong. Right around here, he's actually really strong in PvP because of the Mirage. But he also has his own Ice in Peril and an AoE double hit slash from Exorcism Storm. Exorcism Storm hits like a freaking truck. And he can also be running evade as well with his illusion, so Laswell is actually really strong. Technically, you can also run Laswell as Pierce, but I don't see that nearly as often. I'm gonna put Vanera here, same thing for that armor debuff, but realistically, Vanera, you don't know her for her slash damage. You know her for her evade, and her utility in raids with the skill time. So, realistically, Vanera is hard to rank in PvP. She's strong, but she's not strong because of slash damage, so she's kind of in the middle of the pack. Stern is here for the self-sacrifice. He can hit pretty hard, and because Dark Slash is a more prominent type than Light Slash is. And then here we go, all the Light Slash people. I think Thancred probably hits a little harder than Ramza because of the 210 modifier off of Blasting Zone. That in because he has 2 master abilities. Ramza, mostly known for his buffs, not too well known for his damage. And even his damage is questionable because there's a ton of magic in it. Cecil, you don't know Cecil for his damage. Let's put it that way, right? You know him for his shields. And maybe his strike attack. You don't really know Cecil because his Holy Knight attack one-shot or something. The only time when Cecil's damage / attack damage is viable is really on this current map with the light attack up. And even then, I think he's just using his fist attacks because there's less people resistant to that. Rob, basically pretty middle of the pack samurai. I think he's probably the weakest of all the slash units. As in the sense that he brings the least to the table, but technically he does have some pierce coverage too. Ramada, put Ramada here because really Ramada isn't like, she hits really hard. She hits really hard, but the thing here is most soldiers hit hard with Hazard Break no matter what. So like In fact, if anything, I would say Oldoa is stronger than Ramada, because Oldoa has her own vision card with the Exorcist. Ramada can also equip Exorcist, but Oldoa gets an extra buff off of it. But Ramada, I'm putting Ramada here because Ramada has an overall buff in water, so that's why. And these light slashers, right? These three light slashers all get Leviathan as an option, with a light slash bestowed effect. So that's why they're ranked higher. Christmas Ramada is actually a really awkward place to put her, because technically she does some decent damage in Hazard Break, but then so does every soldier, and I don't really see her. You don't really see her nearly as often, so it's really hard to rank her. Yorma you don't see at all, so I would say Yorma is probably the bottom of the list. Realistically, Ketone is. I put her in the bottom because she does slash damage, but realistically, Ketone should not be here. I think if anything, Ketone is better than Yorma at least, and probably better than Oldoa, to be honest. But the thing with Ketone is, people that run Ketone don't run her with a sword. People that run Ketone run something like double accessory and an armor, because Ketone is ran as kind of a status effect user, more than anything else. Okay, now that we're done with Slash, I'm going to move some of the units around. I would say magic damage, probably around here. Well, actually, Hazard Slash is a magic type attack, so there. Fierce-wise, I don't really. Well, I mean, there's these two, but there's these three, but they're not like top of the pack. I just put them like that. Strike. Okay, on to Pierce. Kane is probably the best Pierce unit, hands down. There's really not much discussion about it. His Brain Piercer, basically everybody else pierces 2 spots, he pierces 3. So there you go. But Brain Piercer, Pierce Lance, Blood Lance, Dragon Raid, all his attacks are good. All his attacks are good. On top of having a lot of staying power with Courage and Sentinel, Kane is insane. PvP wise, I think after Kane, technically you can say Laswell is after Kane, because Laswell has the shield. But I'll go with the pure Pierce units first. Victoria is probably better than Glaciella, because Victoria has the ability to charm, and she has slash type damage. But then again, so does Glaciella. The thing with Victoria is her jump abilities make her immune, and that's really what Glaciella is lacking. She's lacking that kind of immunity. Glaciella is not that squishy, but she's still very easily killable. Whereas like Kane and Victoria can be in the air for a while and they're less likely to die. On top of Victoria being able to charm. Glaciella is more of a PvP unit, to be honest. And then between Glaciella and Eileen, I have more experience with Glaciella. I see Glaciella a lot more. So Glaciella is the more meta unit, I'll put it that way. Eileen has the strongest attack in the game, I believe. Even still. So it's just that she's not used very well, very often, because Lancer is kind of an outdated job, because of Dragoon and Valkyrie. Laswell, I would say, realistically, Laswell's power level is more like here. He's a bit stronger in terms of but he's there because of his slash. His jump is really a secondary ability, so that's why I put him behind behind Eileen. Because even though Laswell as a character is insane, especially in PvP, he's not insane because of his pierce damage. You don't really know him for his pierce abilities, so that's why. Technically, Thancred can be Lancer. There's Lancer coverage on Thancred here and there, but realistically, I think it's only effective on the current Mountain Road map. So that's why. I think Stern has Dragoon, but Stern's Dragoon I don't think comes with Dragon Dive. So, the only thing he has, I guess Stern has his self-sacrifice. That's why he's here. Still better than Old. I think by far Old is probably like Old is pretty down there with one of the with like Mashiri. It's very rare that like you see Old. And even if you do see him, he's not that strong. He's got that issue of the Lancer job being kind of outdated. Realistically, the last time I've seen a Lancer the last time I seen a Lancer was yesterday, and that was because the ladder reset and some guy was using Old. But like, I've never seen Old in the top 200s before, or the top 100. Or anywhere. I don't think I see Old after like top 1 or 2,000s, to be honest. Okay, so on to Strike. Rhaldor's the guy that's trying to bring Strike meta into popularity, so he's no doubt the strongest Strike unit. And that's just a new job thing, right? You got that. It's got the power creeping job thing. Monk in and of itself isn't even that good of a Strike job to begin with. So Rhaldor Pugilist basically outclasses the Monk job. After that is Cecil and Ramada, because they have self-sacrifice. Even though like they can't equip fist weapons, I believe the self-sacrifice technically will be better. I guess you can really say Caesar's here because she can equip Kaiser Knuckles. But even then, I don't feel like Kaiser Knuckles is big enough that it would warrant her to be there. The Caesar's damage is extremely lacking. I'll give you an example of how it's lacking. There's a YouTuber named Randall that does a series called Unloved, and I think Caesar's like 3rd or 4th. But mostly when he ran Caesar, I think he only ran her for her ultimate, and he ran her for the charm. Outside of that, you really don't see Caesar doing any of her other abilities like Strike, like a Strike Surge or a Surge Strike or Terra Slash or anything like that. Obviously, they all have that store and Terra Slash store Surge Strike combo, but the problem with Caesar is she's lacking in support abilities. She doesn't have anything like self-sacrifice that really pumps up her attack. So realistically, the only thing that's pumping up her attack is having Fist Mastery on top of the Kaiser Knuckles. But even then, I would still prefer having Cecil or Ramada. Caesar really is more known for her like dodgy charm tactics than she is known for her fist damage. Obviously, Mashiri can be a monk, but her fist damage is terrible. So I'm just gonna leave her there. Technically, I should leave Mashiri as a mage as well. But anyway, next is Missile. Missile, I believe the strongest Missile unit is Rosa, and the reason for that is she has AP to begin with. And having AP to begin with is insane. Basically, what having AP to begin with means is I can one-shot you first turn. Rosa's Ice Crystal Arrow has one-shot potential with or without buffs. Meaning, even without aim fire, she is still very likely to one-shot any kind of DPS. Even most bruisers can get one-shotted by her. For example, the only thing that can't get one-shotted by Ice Crystal Arrow, I think, is a tank. But all of the mages can very easily get one-shotted by Ice Crystal Arrow, especially Little Leela Halloween. And on top of that, she has two She has a silencing arrow, an AoE arrow, and a sure hit arrow after she reduces your ice resistance. And she has Holy, so all on her main job. So really, Rosa as a missile unit is pretty broken. I would say she's stronger than Frederica and Nivlu, just because Nivlu and Frederica needs the bells to charge up before they can do anything. And Frederica after bells is pretty useless because after she does 3 barrages and her bells expire, she becomes pretty useless because it's very hard for her to gain AP. Nivlu is a little easier to gain AP, but realistically, people don't run Nivlu as missile very often. Mostly they're running her for her time mage and speed. However, she does come in pretty clutch with her status effects. The remove all buffs and the barrier breaker and the defense down. These are all great utility, and that's why she's higher than Frederica. Because Frederica has some utilities as well. Frederica has arm shot, blackout, leg shot, that kind of stuff. But it's not as effective of a utility as the ability to remove your opponent's armor and buffs. If Nivlu can catch a dispel spread on an opponent that has 8 on himself, that's great. Basically, that opens you up to wrecking the rest of his units. So yeah. Realistically, I would say that Christmas Moshery is probably like either here or here. I would put like Christmas Moshery as like second or right after Frederica. The thing with Christmas Moshery is because range is such a big because range is better than range is more likely to hit than melee, because your first hit is more likely going to be sharpshoot or barrage than it is going to be dragon dive. So oftentimes Christmas Moshery is seen more as a missile unit than she is as a dragoon. That being said, though, she does get Viking lore, which is okay. It's not great, but she does get reflex, and that reflex is huge. And so does Rosa, so that's where Nivlu's kind of lacking, because she doesn't have a lot of defense. Counter smoke isn't that good, but reflex is insane. Also, the other reason why I rank her above Luarta, even though she has less range than Luarta, is Luarta is heavily handicapped by gunner mechanics. Like, for example, because she doesn't have that range sub-job, Luarta actually has a really hard time on the current map. The mountain road map is not good for Luarta at all. Those, that plateau in the middle basically blocks out a lot of her range, so Luarta having 8 range is really not that great. Having natural jump on Christmas Moshery and Nivlu is also a good thing. It's just not as good on that snow map. But at any rate, I would say Christmas Moshery is better than Luarta, because Christmas Moshery has a lot more. She doesn't have to deal with the range. She doesn't have to deal with the gunner mechanics, and she has barrage. Barrage is one of the best gunner skills in the game. Unfortunately for Lucia, she doesn't have barrage, so that's why I kind of rank her that low. All of the missile units are pretty insane, are really strong. The problem with Lucia is Luarta does a lot more damage. I'm talking a couple hundred, maybe even 1,000 or two, maybe even 1,000 or so more than Lucia. And that's why I rank her higher than Lucia, even though Lucia has reflex and doesn't have to deal with the whole gunner mechanic of different elevation issues. Luarta does have Luarta has I think it's tune-up, self-sacrifice, and concentration. So Luarta has more range than Lucia. So on a flat map, Luarta is better. Luarta is almost always better. Predictive fire is also very interesting. But Lucia's advantage is her ability to use arrows, but she doesn't have barrage, so that kind of sucks. So she can overcome the range height issues, but she has less range, and her problem is she even though she has her own vision card, that vision card wasn't that good. And that's kind of why these two are over here, because of Federica's dreams. And the other thing about Lucia is she doesn't have I don't think she has a plus HP. She doesn't have a plus damage. She doesn't have a plus attack ability. So realistically, you're using her with something like Tune Up and what's the speed move called? Tune Up and Range Up. I think that's what you're using. Or for Tune Up and Range Lore. Okay, moving on to Magic. Magic is hard to rank. Realistically, the top 3 Magic units is Ildira, Little Leela, and Sakura. There was a thing on Reddit discussing who's stronger, Ildira or Halloween Little Leela. Well, at the moment, Ildira has her own vision card. Halloween Little Leela's Typhoon hasn't come out yet. However, Little Leela can also equip that holiday card, so that's kind of moot. So she only gets a slight magic. Ildira just gets a slight magic advantage. The reason I put Ildira first is because Ildira can pretty much solo Sakura and Little Leela because of her magic resist buff. Little Leela, you're pretty much 100% gonna run her as Calculator and White Mage. Ildira is almost always gonna be Calculator and Spellblade. The thing with Ildira is she gets an extra type of damage with slash damage. So Ildira is able to crack open Freyevia and she is able to crack open Freyevia and Whisper tanks. Well, not so much Whisper, because Whisper can be 100% resistant to magic and slash at the same time. Freyevia is not. Freyevia is actually weak to slash, so Ildira has that advantage. Ildira ultimate is also very, very good. Has the ability to lapse people in manual PvP. Essentially, it's AoE quicken if you have it maxed out, so that's the other reason why she's so good. The person that said Little Leela's ultimate is not AoE is actually wrong. Her ultimate is single target. The good thing about her ultimate is it removes evade before you hit them, but I feel like evade units, even without their evade buff, being Utsumi, illusion, what have you, would still probably dodge the attack. Little Leela, realistically's only advantage over Ildira is re-res, is the full life. Between the two, wind and water is about the same. The only good thing about wind is it can kill Killfei. Whereas water, I guess now water can kill rhaldors, but I don't think rhaldor is as big of an issue as Killfei is. And I believe both of them, and the thing is both of them can kill Sakura, even though we'll talk about Sakura's advantages, and then we'll discuss why they're a bit better than Sakura. Sakura has a couple of advantages. Sakura's first advantage is she's dual element, and she has that buff, the triple element resist buff. But being dual element is insane. However, her thunder element is a cast time element, so she actually has to cast her abilities on the thunder, and that's where Ildira will kill her. Because if she just goes up and hits Ildira with Light Blade, Ildira's magic resist will kind of counter that. But also, Sakura brings a ton of buffs as well, but not as good as Ildira is. Just because Ildira has that AoE quicken is insane. Magic resist. Little Leela technically also has support buffs in Shell and Protect, but they're rarely used. I almost never seen anyone turn on Shell and Protect on Little Leela in Arena, because it's very easy to get her to just cast those in the corner and get her stuck, so you don't want that messing with your AI. So overall, I think Ildira is probably the strongest out of the three because of the slash damage, the magic resist, the ability to AoE quicken. All of those are great options. Little Leela, the thing with Little Leela is she's incredibly evasive. You can use her in a pure evade team, even without any kind of evade equipment. She'll still evade stuff here and there. Once Typhoon comes out, or Typhon comes out, she'll be pretty she'll get pushed over the top because now she'll get Magic Pen, which she didn't really need, and she'll get more evade, which I think she could have gotten into the 80 or 100 evade territory to begin with. So I don't think she really needs that either. But utility-wise, I think Ildira is probably better. You're welcome to disagree. Sakura. A lot of people say Sakura is also one of the best mages in the game. Unfortunately, all three of them gets tramped by Yuna and Helena later. But Sakura at the moment is probably one of the hardest hitting mages, if nothing else. Rebel Intention hits like a freaking truck, on top of having having spirit penetration abilities. So that's why there's a whole ton of magic resist teams going around. And magic resist team has Ildira, so there you go. Sakura has the same farming potential as these two. Generally, when people say farming potential, they're talking about how fast can you clear good idea to get your resonance up. Sakura has that same AoE, has a big AoE attack that's instant cast in her ultimate, and she can use it first turn. Same thing with Skull. So Sakura is one of the best mages, no doubt, so that's why she's there. It just really depends on whether you think Sakura is better than the two calculators. The next is Skull and Killfei. Skull and Killfei is interesting because, Sakura can also use these two cards as well. Black Rose and Blossom. Blossom is Skull specific though. Realistically, I think Killfei is better than Skull. Probably should move them there. Killfei has the ability to do Taunting Blade. She can tank. She can physical tank. She can magic tank because of the Skull Blade. She has Holy, so she's anti-evade. I've seen Killfei's wipe out a double quicken Federica team single-handedly. So there you go. The thing is, she doesn't get that full Blossom buff. Bestow buff that Skull gets, but even then, I don't think that pushes Skull over Killfei. And Killfei is the elemental advantage over Skull. The thing with Killfei is Wind is not a very popular element. Realistically, the only popular unit that's Wind type is Halloween Little Leela. You're very rarely gonna see Howlet. And then Yorma, definitely no. Ayaka has no wind move, so even if you see her, it doesn't matter. Who else is there? Doa, you're also never gonna see. So I say Killfei is probably fourth best mage, maybe even best mage. She's mage. Calculator's not included. But I think she was best mage before Sakura came out. Calculator's not included. Skull is Skull. The thing that Skull has over Killfei is Flare. And here's a question: it's just a question of, is Flare better or is Holy better? But Killfei now has Ruin Jaw, so same thing. I still think Killfei is probably better because of the utility. Skull does not have very much utility. Got Staff Mage, Black Mage, and I don't remember what the last one is. That kind of sucks. And this is bothering me, so I gotta go look it up. But basically, I don't think Skull is as good as Killfei. So there's the judgment call there. Oh, Time Mage. Skull has the ability to do both haste and quicken, so he's very good as support. But mage-wise, I think Killfei is probably better. Because the thing is, Killfei can run any of her 3 jobs and it'll still be very viable. Whereas Skull, you're very likely to see him running Time Mage over the other two. Okay, next, Howlet and Zombie Ryryu. This is crazy because I run freaking Skull in a double quicken Federica Lightning build. What the heck? Skull, Howlet and Zombie Ryryu we talked about before in the slash types. Technically that spell is a magic type attack. It just doesn't hit for magic resistance, so that really helps them get over those magic tanks. So that's kind of their niche. That and they hit really, really hard. Possibly harder than Midiana. Midiana is known for two things. Her ultimate and flare. And realistically, I think without her ultimate, she's pretty useless. People run the Howlet TMR on Midiana so that she can run up and Midiana Cosmo Plume somebody first turn. But even then, I don't think like, and that's very effective in manual PvP. Not so much in arena. But even then, I don't think like Midiana is that top tier of a mage these days. Next is kind of Rain, Red Mage, Jamming Thrust. The reason why I put Howlet over Zombie Ryryu in the magic category is because of Jamming Thrust. The ability to cancel your opponent's cast sometimes is very huge, but generally they die. So there you go. But Jamming Thrust hits super hard. If you need if your opponent has a ton of slash resist and you need a pure magic attack to go through it, Jamming Thrust right here. Technically, you can also do Rain Evocation. Jamming Thrust hits a lot harder. Miranda, I mean, I kind of just put her there, but realistically, Miranda is more of a support than anything else. Well, she does have Jamming Thrust, but her Jamming Thrust hits a lot weaker than Rain's Jamming Thrust. And then Celir, I don't know why I have an MR unit here. She ended up coming in the batch, so I put her in there. Realistically, I would say Celir is probably here, or at least here, stronger than Miranda. Yeah, I'll be there. Stronger than Miranda, a little bit weaker than Rain. Just because Rain's not very likely to die. He's very likely to Jamming Thrust you at least twice. Miranda is also tanky, can Jamming Thrust you twice, but Miranda's Jamming Thrust does not do a lot of damage. She's just not known for like her damage. Celir is, because she got Flare and Holy. Alright, that's it for our list. It's purely opinion, based on my own experiences in the top ranking arenas, around like top 100 and top 100 and top 50, and around top 100 ish, around like top 150 ish in in class matches. Realistically, we all know who the meta units are. It's just a matter of like how you rank them, and I rank them a little bit differently. I value having AP off the bat really big, really a lot. Just because in free matches, sometimes you start right next to the guy, and if you happen to have a really fast Howlet who manages to keep all his magic damage, you can run right up there, hazard slash, and all your guys are dead. All your opponents are dead. You can't really do that as you can. I guess you can do that as Gilgamesh, but you can't really do that as Super Stern because Hazard Pressure takes too much damage. Takes too much AP. And anything that's within close range in free matches basically gets one-shotted by Rosa if Rosa goes before them, which is very likely because Rosa's Man-Eater ability, or is it her range ability? Because one of her abilities gives agility up, and it's an auto-equip ability. As in, like, it's one of the best abilities in the game. She has these two abilities for her Archer kit that is basically no-brainer over the rest. So she's pretty much 100% going to have the agility buff. That being said, though, Some of these I would move around a little bit because their sub jobs are better than other people's main jobs, but I feel like that's not particularly fair to the guys that have the main job. But I think overall the biggest contention is probably who's the best mage, and probably like who's the best slash unit. There really isn't any contention on who's the best pierce and strike unit. Missile, I think people would probably say Rosa or Frederica. I just say Rosa because Rosa has that AP off the bat and she hits like a freaking truck. The thing is, you can't expect, you don't really expect Frederica to one-shot people with sharpshoot, although she has that capability. But she's really only one-shotting mages and maybe some cloth-wearing DPS here and there. Whereas Rosa will one-shot bruisers with Ice Arrow. I've seen Rosa one-shot Kane with an Ice Arrow. I've seen Rosa one-shot Super Stern, Dwayne, a ton of other people with a Ice Arrow. The only people I haven't seen her one-shot with an Ice Arrow, I think, is Warrior of Light, Engelbert, Rain, because of the element. And pretty much everybody else I have. Even some fire units I have seen her one-shot. Lucia, Luarta, who else? I think that's it, Luarta. Never really... I just avoid Mashiri completely, so I don't really get to fight her. But yeah, that's it for my tier list. Thank you guys all for watching. Alright, have a nice day.